In the year 2460, Earth finally became a member of the Galactic Council. For centuries, humanity had looked at the stars with dreams. Now the stars were looking back. The Council station was the size of a small moon. A bright ring of metal and light floated in the black sea of space. Thousands of alien ships moved around it like insects around a lamp. To humanity, it was the center of power. To the galaxy, Earth was just another new, weak species. When the first human ambassador arrived, the other species did not cheer. They laughed. Their eyes, some glowing, some blinking, some cold like stone, watched the small human ship dock at the station. It looked old compared to their shiny fleets. To them, humanity was late to the party. The council chamber was huge. The floor was made of black stone. The air smelled like chemicals and the walls moved with strange lights. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in curved rows, their voices low and mocking. In the center, the human delegation stood in silence. The oldest alien, a creature with golden scales and 6 eyes, leaned forward and said in a calm, slow voice, "So, the soft ones finally crawl from their nest." A wave of quiet laughter filled the chamber. Another alien, with a face like a spider's, added, "They have no claws. No fangs, no armor. They bleed so easily." A third alien, wearing a bright uniform, tapped its claws on the table. "Why do we even let them join? They are weak. They have nothing." The human ambassador did not respond. She stood tall in her black suit, hands behind her back. Her face was calm. Her heart was not. But humans were good at hiding storms behind their eyes. For years, aliens had watched humans. They saw wars, hunger, mistakes, and small victories. But they also saw humans as fragile. No super strength. No special abilities. No strange technology. Just flesh and bone. Just Earth. In the galaxy, strength meant power. Power meant respect. And humanity had neither. So the galaxy laughed. They laughed when they saw Earth's ships, small, light and cheap compared to alien cruisers. They laughed when they saw human soldiers, thin compared to massive alien warriors. They laughed when they heard human leaders speak about peace, hope, and freedom. But humanity did not forget laughter. It remembered. For 5 years, humans tried to build trust. They traded, learned, explored. They listened to the galaxy's stories, but the galaxy never listened to theirs. They stood on the edge of a cold, endless sea, and every voice around them called them weak. Then one day, everything changed. It started as a soft signal. A red light flashed on Earth's deep space radar. A shape moved at the edge of the solar system. At first, people thought it was a rock, maybe a comet. But it was not a rock. It was a fleet of unknown warships. No one knew their flag. No one knew their name. But they came fast, silent, cold. The Galactic Council sent no help. Why would they? Everyone believed the same thing. Earth will fall in hours. Alien leaders whispered to each other in their warm stations. The humans will beg. Their cities will burn. It will be quick. But on Earth, something unexpected happened. The planet did not scream. It did not send calls for help. It did not open its shields in panic. Earth went silent. From the moon's orbit to the deepest ocean base, all communication from Earth and its colonies went black. The Council received no messages. Alien observers saw human satellites shut down one by one. Civilian stations were closed. Ports locked. Fleets disappeared from scanners. The galaxy expected chaos. Instead, it saw a quiet Earth, a silent, breathing storm. Inside a hidden base under the Arctic ice, the human ambassador who once stood in the council chamber now looked at a screen. Red dots, enemy ships were moving closer. Behind her, officers worked in silence. No one was afraid. No one cried. They had been waiting for a long time. Humanity had listened. For a long time, it had been underestimated. For a long time, it had built something in the shadows, deep underground. Millions of civilians were being moved to secure shelters. Transport ships disappeared under false signals. Decoy satellites created noise in space. Old radio waves carried fake messages to confuse the enemy. On the council station, alien leaders laughed again. "They hide underground like animals," one alien said with a sharp grin. But one old admiral, with grey skin and tired eyes, did not laugh. He had studied humans longer than the others. He leaned toward his screen and whispered to himself, "No, they are planning." In orbit, Human military satellites began to vanish, but not because they were destroyed. They simply disappeared. Alien scanners tried to lock onto Earth cities, but strange interference appeared. Radar failed. Signals bent. It was like trying to see through smoke. Something was moving beneath the silence. Above the dark side of the moon, in a place the galaxy had never looked, a single AI woke up. It had no name. It had one voice. One purpose. They laughed, it said in a cold digital whisper. Now they will listen. The warships from the unknown fleet crossed the outer planets. Mars colonies reported their movement, then also went silent. The Council tried to send messages to Earth. None returned. Fear began to crawl into the aliens' laughter. One Council officer said in a low voice, "Why are they so quiet?" No one answered. Because the galaxy never learned what it meant when humans became quiet. When humans were quiet, they were not broken. They were not scared. They were preparing. And somewhere in the black sea of space, far away from the Council's eyes, humanity's real fleet began to move, a fleet the galaxy had never seen. Silence spread across the solar system like a dark cloud. Every camera, every satellite, every radio signal pointed toward Earth, but the world gave no answer. From the outer stations near Jupiter, alien observers sent reports to the Galactic Council. Human channels are offline, orbital stations are dark, civilian traffic is gone. The Council met in the Grand Chamber, their glowing screens showing maps of the solar system. Hundreds of alien leaders gathered. Some looked amused, others looked confused. But none of them were afraid. Not yet. The golden-scaled alien, the same who mocked humanity years ago, stood tall and confident. "It is as expected," he said. "They hide. They panic. They are prey." Laughter rolled through the chamber again. Another alien with sharp blue armor and 4 shining eyes tapped on the map. "Their ships are small. Their defenses are weak. When the unknown fleet arrives, Earth will fall like dry leaves in the wind." A soft voice from the shadows asked, "And if they fight back?" The room went quiet for 1 second, then filled with louder laughter. "Fight back? With what? Their scrap metal ships? With their soft soldiers?" The old grey-skinned admiral, sitting alone in the corner, did not laugh. He remembered the silence. He remembered how humans always hid their claws behind calm faces. "They are not panicking," he whispered to himself. "They are waiting." But no one heard him. Meanwhile, on Earth, deep under the ground, tunnels and control rooms were alive with quiet activity. Thousands of operators spoke in short, fast words. On giant screens, red dots representing the enemy fleet moved closer to the inner system. No speeches, no loud orders, just quiet work. The President of Earth walked into the command room. Her face was pale but calm. Around her, generals and AI cores were working together like a single machine. "Status?" she asked softly. A commander turned to her. "All surface signals are down. Civilian population secured in underground cities. Orbital stations cleared. The shadow protocol is active." The President nodded. "Good. Keep it that way. Let them think we are weak." Far above, in the cold vacuum of space, human defense satellites were slowly turning off their visible signals. To alien eyes, it looked like they were going offline. In truth, they were entering stealth mode, hiding in the dark like sharks beneath a black ocean. The enemy fleet, made of massive, unknown warships, crossed Saturn's orbit. Dozens of ships, black as night, with no lights, no flags, no names. Their engines burned with cold blue fire. The Council watched everything through their long-range sensors. They were excited. This was entertainment to them. A weak world about to be crushed. How long before they reach Earth? 17 hours, answered a soft robotic voice. Alien commanders laughed again. They placed bets on how long Earth would last. Some said 10 minutes, some said 1 hour. One alien leader joked, "Maybe they will try to sing for mercy." But the old grey admiral was silent. He stared at the screen, watching how Earth stayed still. No ships moved. No weapons showed. It felt wrong. Back on Earth, a secret AI core hidden under the Pacific Ocean opened its digital eyes. The AI, known only as Sentinel-01, spoke in a calm, emotionless voice. Shadow Protocol Phase 2 initiated. In seconds, hidden factories beneath the surface came alive. Massive gates opened under the ocean. Dust and old ice fell from silent doors in the Arctic. Thousands of old forgotten satellites suddenly began to move again. The alien sensors saw nothing. Their scanners were blind. Unknown to the galaxy, humanity had spent decades building in silence. Every insult, every laugh, every moment of being underestimated had bought them time. While the galaxy looked at their small ships, humanity was digging deeper. While others mocked their weakness, they were preparing for the day the stars would turn dark. The enemy fleet crossed Mars' orbit. Their ships were now only hours away. The Council expected Earth to send a distress signal soon, but Earth did not cry. The President stood before the war room's main screen. She watched the red dots moving closer, breathing slowly. Around her, officers whispered reports. Everyone knew this was the moment the galaxy had been waiting for, but no one in that room was afraid. "Do we contact the Council?" one officer asked. "No," the President replied. "Let them keep laughing." In the Council chamber, the golden-scaled alien smiled wide. "They are frozen. No defense. No courage. Soon they will belong to the wind." But then a strange report came in. One of the alien observers shouted, "Our scanners are failing." The lights in the chamber flickered. Data screens showed static and errors. Long-range satellites stopped working one by one. Alien leaders shouted in confusion, "What is happening? Why are we blind? Did the unknown fleet attack us?" No, it wasn't the enemy fleet. It was something else. Something from Earth. In the deep dark of space, hidden devices were jamming the Council's scanners. The same devices the galaxy had never seen, never imagined humans could build. A thin smile appeared on the face of the Grey Admiral. "They are not prey," he whispered. "They are hunters." Back on Earth, Sentinel-01 spoke again. Shadow Protocol Phase 3 initiated. Project Leviathan, stand by. The enemy fleet was now just 2 hours away, but they did not know what waited for them in the dark. Inside every human shelter, people sat quietly. They held hands. They trusted. Not because they were the strongest, but because they had planned. The Council sent one last message to Earth, trying to contact the human military. The signal was received, but no reply came. Just silence. Why aren't they answering? An alien leader shouted, "Because they don't need to." The Admiral whispered. Silence, pure, heavy, powerful silence, the kind that comes before a storm. The enemy ships entered Earth's outer defense line, but the galaxy had no idea that what they thought was weakness was something far more dangerous they were about to learn, and they would never laugh again. The unknown fleet had entered Earth's outer defense zone. They moved like silent knives in the dark, black ships with no name, no signal, no mercy. The Galactic Council watched from light years away. Alien leaders filled the Grand Chamber, their glowing screens showing the movement of the enemy. Laughter had already begun. "This is the end of the soft ones," said the golden-scaled alien. "Their planet will burn before they scream." They expected fear. They expected panic. They expected the humans to send begging signals, or maybe a final, foolish attack. But Earth remained silent. The enemy ships reached the moon's orbit. They expected to see weak human defenses, maybe a few small ships or old satellites. Instead, they saw nothing. No signal, no ships, no resistance. "Are they already dead?" one alien commander joked. Perhaps they ran away. But the old Grey Admiral sitting in the corner did not laugh. His long fingers tapped the table slowly. His eyes stayed locked on the screen. Something felt wrong. Too wrong. In deep space, just beyond the shadow of Neptune, the truth finally woke up. Humanity's greatest secret moved for the first time. For decades, the galaxy had believed Earth had only small fleets, barely enough to defend its own orbit. That belief was not an accident. It was a carefully built lie. Far from every telescope, far from every alien scanner, humans had built something they called the Shadow Fleet. It was not large. It was not beautiful. But it was fast, silent, invisible. Hundreds of dark ships rested behind Neptune's orbit, wrapped in cold silence. Their hulls were black and sharp, designed to drink light and disappear into the night. They had no bright flags, no proud music, just the cold hum of waiting engines. The moment the enemy fleet crossed the moon's line, Sentinel-01 sent one simple message across the hidden network: "Wake up." Engines roared without sound. One by one, ships detached from their hidden docks and turned their noses toward Earth. In less than a minute, the black void behind Neptune came alive. No alien sensor saw them coming. No radar found their trail. Not a single warning reached the Council. The first sign of change came when an alien sensor ship near Mars suddenly vanished. No explosion, no trace. Just a flash and silence. "We lost one of the scout ships," an alien voice reported. "Check again," another said. "It must be a glitch," but it was not a glitch. A second ship disappeared. Then a third. Panic began to crawl like a slow shadow. In the council chamber, laughter finally faded. What is happening? Why are their ships going dark? Who is attacking them? The old admiral leaned forward, eyes cold. Humans. Far out in the darkness, a small black human corvette slipped under an enemy cruiser, like a shark under a whale. The cruiser was 10 times bigger, stronger, more powerful, but the corvette didn't fight with power. It fought with silence. A pulse of invisible energy cut through the cruiser's shield like a blade through water. Before the aliens could react, the corvette fired a single kinetic round. No light, no heat, just pure speed. It tore through the cruiser's heart. The giant ship died without a sound. On the council screens, one red dot turned black. A cruiser. Destroyed? How? Nothing was there. What are they using? Panic began to spread. One by one, Shadow Fleet ships appeared on no map, struck and vanished again. They did not stay to fight. They killed, then melted back into the night. Alien admirals shouted orders. Their fleets turned, searching for ghosts. But you can't fight what you can't see. On Earth, inside the command bunker, the president watched the operation unfold on a dark map. Red dots were disappearing. Slowly, the enemy fleet was bleeding in the dark. Shadow Fleet performing above expectations, a commander said. No losses reported. The president said nothing. She just whispered. They laughed at us. The enemy fleet tried to counterattack. Their ships fired randomly into the void. Plasma bolts lit up the black like falling stars. But they hit nothing. Shadow Fleet moved like water, flowing through the gaps, always behind the enemy. Human ships were small, but they were fast. They did not fight like aliens. They did not follow alien rules. They fought like humans. A corvette and 2 frigates trapped an enemy destroyer between invisible mines. The destroyer exploded in a silent blue storm. Another cruiser crashed into its burning remains. "We can't detect them," shouted an alien officer. "They are like ghosts." But they were not ghosts. They were humans who had waited years for this moment. In the council chamber, faces turned from smiles to cold fear. This is not what they told us," said one alien leader. "They were weak." "We were wrong," whispered the admiral. A few alien factions tried to leave the chamber. Others shouted to prepare their own defenses in case humanity turned on them too. But it was already too late for the enemy fleet. In less than 20 minutes, 10 alien ships had been destroyed. 20 more were damaged. Their perfect formation was broken. Their proud fleet now floated in chaos. Inside one Shadow Fleet ship, Captain Elias Rook stood in the dark bridge. He had trained for this war since he was a child. His voice was calm. "Do not let them see us," he said. "We are the night," the crew whispered back. "We are the night." The enemy flagship tried to retreat, but a wall of silent mines blocked its way. The moment it turned, 3 human ships attacked at once. Invisible torpedoes struck its engines. A shockwave spread through the void. The flagship died like a falling star. The flagship is gone. Retreat! Retreat! But there was nowhere to run. Shadow Fleet ships closed in like a black tide. The enemy fleet, once a storm, now looked like lost fireflies in the dark. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as prey, but as predators. The council chamber fell into silence. No more laughter. Only the slow, cold understanding that something had changed forever. The old admiral spoke the words none of them wanted to hear. The humans have teeth. The battlefield above Earth was no longer quiet. It was alive with fire and shadows. The unknown fleet, once proud and sure, was now broken. Dozens of their massive warships floated in chaos, glowing with silent blue flames. Human Shadow Fleet ships moved between them like silent wolves, attacking and disappearing without a trace. For the first time, the galaxy watched in silence. No laughter, no jokes, no arrogance. The alien council, sitting in the grand chamber, could only stare at the red dots on their screens vanishing one by one. They had believed the humans would be crushed in minutes, but the minutes had passed. And now it was the enemy fleet that was dying. This is not possible," whispered the golden-scaled alien. "They are weak. They are supposed to be weak. But weakness was only what they saw. It was never what humanity truly was. The Shadow Fleet continued its silent storm. A group of corvettes slipped between two enemy battleships and planted hidden mines. A second later, a flash of white fire split both ships in half, no sound. Just bright light against the black. Human pilots moved like they were dancing. Their ships were smaller, but they didn't need strength. They needed speed. They needed creativity. And they had both. "They don't follow formation," shouted an alien officer on one of the enemy ships. "They're unpredictable. How can we fight something that moves like chaos?" Inside the enemy command flagship, the alien admiral slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Kill them all." Hundreds of alien ships opened fire at once, turning the dark sky into a storm of plasma and fire. But Shadow Fleet ships were already gone. They had moved before the order was even given. Back on Earth, deep underground, the human president watched the battle unfold through silent screens. The command center glowed with soft blue light. Officers gave calm, short updates. Every human was focused. "Shadow Fleet loss count, minimal," a commander said. "Enemy fleet down by 40%. The president's hands were folded tightly, but her eyes were cold and sharp. "Good," she said softly. "Phase 4. Show them what happens when we stop pretending." Far away at the edge of the battlefield, something massive moved. A shadow larger than anything in the solar system began to rise from behind the dark side of the moon. It was silent. It was black. It carried no lights. And yet, it blocked out the stars. The enemy fleet didn't see it at first. The council didn't believe it was real, but then the shadow began to take shape. Project Leviathan, the C-twice largest warship ever built by humans, a monster made of steel and silence, longer than the alien flagship. Taller than any station, a black blade floating in the void. What is that?" gasped one alien leader in the council chamber. "It can't be human. It's too big." But it was. For years, Earth had hidden the Leviathan under the moon's surface, buried deep inside craters and rock. It had been built in secret, while the galaxy laughed at their weakness, and now the galaxy stared at it with fear. The alien admiral on the enemy flagship saw the giant shape appearing on his sensors and froze. No, that's not possible. The Leviathan slowly opened its wings, revealing dozens of hidden weapon pods, railguns, and energy cannons. But no human fired a single shot. The Leviathan didn't need to. It began broadcasting a silent pulse. A strange, invisible signal spread through the battlefield. Alien ships started losing control of their systems. Their shields flickered. Their engines slowed. Their targeting systems shut down one by one. The alien crews screamed in confusion. "Our systems are offline. We're blind! Something is jamming everything." Project Leviathan was not just a warship. It was a weapon of control. The council chamber filled with panic. They had this all along? They built this while we laughed at them? We underestimated them. The old gray-skinned admiral closed his eyes. He wasn't surprised. He had always known. He whispered to the golden-scaled alien next to him, "You don't see humans when they're weak. You see them when they're quiet." And when they're quiet, they're planning. On the battlefield, the enemy ships could no longer fight. Their mighty cruisers floated helplessly as the Shadow Fleet circled them like black sharks. One by one, human ships targeted their engines and neutralized them with clean, precise strikes. There was no screaming, no mercy, no hesitation. Humanity had been called soft, but soft things can hide blades. In the command room, the president gave the order. Broadcast. A few seconds later, every enemy ship, every council screen, every alien channel was overridden by one single human transmission. A calm female voice echoed through the void. "We never wanted war, but you brought it to us. You laughed at our weakness. You forgot to fear our silence." On the council screens, Project Leviathan turned slowly, its black hull reflecting no light. The message continued. "This is humanity. We are not weak. We are waiting." For the first time in centuries, the galaxy trembled, not because of the strongest empire, not because of the biggest fleet, but because of a species they had laughed at. The enemy admiral finally broke. "Retreat!" he screamed. "All ships retreat!" But it was too late. Their engines were dead, their weapons useless, their commands broken. The Shadow Fleet surrounded the enemy flagship, not to destroy it, but to let them see. to make sure every alien in the galaxy saw what had happened to the fleet that dared to attack Earth. Enemy, fleet is collapsing, a human commander. Reported no organized resistance. The president closed her eyes for a moment. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate, she just said, "End it." In a final clean strike, the Leviathan fired a single kinetic round. It moved faster than light could blink. The enemy flagship exploded like a star dying in silence. The battle was over. The galaxy had just witnessed its turning point. No one laughed anymore. The battlefield was quiet again. No engines roared. No ships moved. Above the blue curve of Earth, burned metal and broken enemy ships floated like dead stars. Where once a massive enemy fleet stood, now there was only silence. The Shadow Fleet remained hidden in the black. Not celebrating, not cheering, just watching. Silent, like hunters after the kill. In the Galactic Council chamber, no one spoke, no one laughed. No one even moved. The giant holographic map showed the final result of the war. Enemy fleet destroyed, human losses minimal. The golden-scaled alien stared at the numbers with wide, shaking eyes. His claws, which once tapped the table in mockery, were now frozen in fear. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "It was supposed to be their end." The old grey-skinned admiral slowly stood. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the room like a blade. "It was never their end," he said. "It was their beginning." Across the galaxy, thousands of alien worlds received the same broadcast. The same human message played again and again, echoing through every frequency. "We never wanted war, but you brought it to us. You laughed at our weakness. Now, you will remember our silence." Every world, every ship, every government saw the image of Project Leviathan turning slowly in the black sea of stars. A ship so massive, so silent, it looked like a shadow of death. For the first time, the galaxy truly feared humanity. Alien leaders who once mocked humans now sat in cold silence. Their faces were pale, their voices gone. Every empire, every great power suddenly understood. If humanity could destroy a fleet like this in one night, then no one was safe. Back on Earth, inside the command bunker, the president stood before a giant window looking at the dark sky. The battle was over, but no one in that room felt joy. Humanity had won, but it was not a victory to celebrate. It was a warning to the galaxy. "Status?" the president asked quietly. A commander stood up straight. "Enemy fleet completely neutralized. No survivors on their flagship. Shadow Fleet is returning to dark positions. Leviathan is powering down." The president nodded slowly. She had dreamed of this day not with pride, but with understanding. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. "Good," she said softly. "Let them remember." High above Earth, Project Leviathan floated silently. Its black hull reflected no light, as if it belonged to the void itself. Around it, Shadow Fleet ships disappeared one by one back into the darkness. The world below began to breathe again. Civilian shelters opened their doors. Families walked out under the night sky, seeing the stars shine once more. No alarms, no fear, just quiet. But even in peace, the silence felt different now, stronger, heavier. The galaxy was listening. In the council chamber, leaders argued in whispers. "If they can do this, what if they turn against us? We can't fight them. We must make peace, or kneel." The golden-scaled alien who once laughed now lowered his head. For centuries, his people had called themselves the strongest race in the stars. Now they feared a species they once called soft. "We mocked them," he said softly. "And now they hold the blade." The old admiral looked at him with tired eyes. "No, they always had the blade. We were too blind to see it." While alien leaders argued, a new message was sent from Earth to the entire galaxy. A simple message, calm, controlled. "We do not seek your war, but if war comes again, we will not hide, we will not ask, we will end it." Every empire heard it. Every ruler understood. It wasn't a threat, it was a fact. In deep space, where the last enemy wreck drifted alone, a single Shadow Fleet corvette floated by. It shined a small light once, as if marking the grave. Then it vanished into the dark again. Humanity did not shout its power. It did not raise a flag. It let silence speak for it. Across the galaxy, governments began moving their fleets away from human borders. Treaties were drafted overnight. Armies that once ignored Earth now watched it carefully. Every commander remembered the black ship that had turned off a fleet like a light. They whispered a name with quiet fear: Leviathan. Back on Earth, in a quiet office, the president sat alone. No crowd, no music. No celebration. Only silence. She looked at the star map glowing softly on her desk. Tiny dots represented hundreds of alien worlds. For years those dots had looked down on Earth. Now, they looked back differently. "They fear us now," a voice said behind her. It was the commander of the Shadow Fleet. "Good," the president said without turning. "Fear keeps them from doing something stupid." The commander stepped forward. "And if fear turns into hate?" The president exhaled slowly, her eyes still on the stars. "Then they will find out what happens when they push us too far." Outside, the night was calm. No enemy ships, no alarms, just the silent blue glow of Earth against the endless dark. The galaxy had learned something that night. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced.